Today we are going to be going over multiplying and dividing fractions with word problems, with everyday life situations. So let's look at the first problem. It says Bretta is making designs for a quilt. She is cutting 3/4 yards of fabric into 6 pieces of the same size. How many yards of fabric will be in each piece? Okay, so if she is cutting 3/4 yards into 6 pieces, what are we going to have to do? What's the key thing right there? Cutting 3/4 into 6 pieces of the same size. So what are we going to be doing? We are going to be taking 3/4 and dividing it by how many pieces is she cutting it into? I can't get the lid off though. 6. So 3/4 divided by 6. Okay, if you remember, copy or CCF. Copy, change, flip. So we're going to copy the 3/4. We're going to change, divide to what? Multiply. Instead of 6/1, it's going to flip. The reciprocal of 6 is 1/6. Okay? So then, is there anything that can cancel out within this problem? You got 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 6 2 times. So 1 times 1 is 1. And 4 times 2 is 8. So 1/8 of a yard is what each piece of fabric's going to be. Now let's go back and see if that makes sense within what we had. It says Bretta is making designs for a quilt. She is cutting 3/4 yards of fabric into 6 pieces of the same size. So that means each piece, our pieces have to be smaller than 3/4 because 3/4 up here is the amount of fabric that she has to start with. So is 1/8 smaller than 3/4? So then, yes, it can be a possible answer. And how many yards of fabric will be in each piece then? So how could we check that? Could we go 1/8 times 6? And if we're right, it's going to equal what? 3/4, isn't it? 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 3/4 would be your answer. And that's what we started with. So that's a way of checking to see if you're correct. Okay, let's move on to another problem. Let's look at this one. It says Kathy is making party favors. She is dividing 3/4 pounds of almonds into 12 packages. How many pounds of almonds are in each package? Okay, I want you to work this problem out. Look at keywords. What you have to do, look at keywords there and try to figure out, are we multiplying, are we going to divide, are we going to add, are we going to subtract? What are we going to do to solve this problem? I'll give you a few minutes to do it. Okay, let's look at the problem again. Kathy is making party favors. She is, keyword, dividing 3/4 pounds of almonds into how many packages? 12 packages. How many pounds of almonds are in each package? So we know our answer is going to be smaller than 3/4 because 3/4 pounds is what she has to start with. She is putting the same amount into 12 packages. So if we take 3/4, it tells you right there you are dividing 3/4. Well, 3/4 divided by the amount of packages, which is 12. So remember, CCF, copy, change, divide to multiply. 12 goes to the reciprocal of 1/12, flipping it is 1, or the reciprocal of 12 is 1/12. So now 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 12 4 times. Then we have 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 4 is 16. So 1/16 of a pound is what's in each package. Now, think back, how we want to check this, see if that's correct. If we take and multiply the 1/16, how many, that's what's in each package. How many packages did we have? 12. Times it by 12. And if we get 3/4, we're correct. So we put that over 1. What can go into both 12 and 16? That's right, if you said 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So then 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 1 is 4. So 3/4, which is what we started with. So then we know we're correct. So Kathy put 1/16 pound in each package that she had, which was 12 packages. Okay, now let's do this one. This is a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. Sounds good, doesn't it? A recipe for chocolate chip cookies calls for 1 3/4 cups of flour. Missy needs to make 6 batches of cookies for a cookie exchange. How many cups of flour will she need? So you have to think on this one. To make one recipe, one batch, she needs how many cups? 1 3/4. How many batches is she making? 6. So you have to decide what it is you have to do to solve this problem. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do so. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's reread it. It says a recipe for chocolate chip cookies calls for 1 3/4 cups of flour. Missy needs to make 6 batches of cookies for a cookie exchange. How many cups of flour will she need? Okay, one batch calls for 1 3/4. She's making how many? 6. So is she going to need more than 1 3/4 if she's making 6 batches? Yes. So are we going to divide or are we going to multiply on this one? You have 1 3/4. That's what one of them is. If she's making 6, then we're going to have to multiply it by 6 because she's going to need 1 3/4 for the first batch, another 1 3/4 for the second batch, and another 1 3/4 for the third batch, and so forth. So we can shortcut and multiply 1 3/4 times 6 to get the total amount that she's going to need. So remember, to change a mixed number to an improper fraction, we take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number, which is 4, and add the 3. So 7, and the denominator stays the same, 7/4 times 6 whole number, so we can put it over top of 1. Okay, now we have 7/4 times 6 ones. Now, is there anything, 4 can't go into 6, but is there anything that can go into 4 and 6? They're both even numbers, so we can divide it by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So then 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 1 is 2. This is an improper fraction, isn't it? Remember, what do we do when we're converting an improper fraction to a mixed number? We take the 21, divide it by 2. 2 goes into 21 10 times, which is 20, with 1 left over. So your answer, your quotient, is your whole number, 10. Your remainder is your numerator. So 10 1/2 cups is what she's going to need. Now let's go and see if that makes sense, okay? It says a recipe for chocolate chip cookies calls for 1 3/4 cups of flour. That's for one batch. Missy needs to make 6 batches of cookies for a cookie exchange. How many cups of flour will she need? Okay, is 10 1/2 a possibility for that? If you look at it, if we round 1 3/4 up to a whole, it would be 2, right? If we had 2 cups for every 6 batches, it would be 12 cups of flour, wouldn't it? So if it's 1 3/4, then 10 1/2 would be a reasonable answer for your for the problem. Okay. So I hope, just make sure when you're doing reading problems, guys, ask yourself, always when you're finished with the problem, ask yourself, is the answer I got for my thing, go back, reread the problem, does it make sense within your problem? If you're finding a total like the flour one here, if you're how many cups of flour will she need? In that case, if you're making more than what you have, you know your answer has to be bigger. You're going to be multiplying. Okay, if you're dividing a certain amount, a fraction, into a certain amount of items, then you know you're going to be dividing. Okay,